So before I start my first review since Whole Lotta Red today, I wanted to actually give a shout out to a little thing. This is actually a big day for hip hop. February 13th always is. It's the anniversary of three iconic hip hop albums. The Score, the Fugees album, which I've actually never heard. I should listen to it because I fucking love The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, so I should probably listen to that. But also, if you're reading this is too late, the best Drake album, or mixtape, but whatever. But one of my favorite albums ever, a vinyl actually on this wall, turns 25 today, so it's actually a big anniversary. All Eyes on Me, I just want to do this before we get into this review because I don't think I want to make a full video on this. All Eyes on Me turns 25 today, and I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite records ever. This is my biggest vinyl actually because there's four, if you can see there's four vinyls in there. I wanted to show this first because I'm really excited that this turned 25 today, and I haven't actually got to show the vinyls very much. This is one of my favorites. It's the heaviest, and like I mentioned, the biggest vinyl I own. You have the nice to try. I don't like the cover art or the art in this very much. It's not bad. It's just Pac being gangsta. It's nothing like the art in the Kendrick records or the Eminem show. Actually has great art in it too. So I'm gonna go put this back up on the wall. But that was really cool. I wanted to shout that out first. And it actually, Tupac does kind of fit within the theme of this album due to the fact that this is a soundtrack album, mostly based around racism in America. Judging by the movie is about the Black Panthers, so it makes sense that I would talk about that. But now we're here with this, so actually, let's just get into the review. I haven't done a an album review since Whole Lotta Red back in December. The reason why is because, well, first of all, I had a lot of problems because if you don't know, my phone broke, and I think I mentioned this in my last video. My phone broke and the microphone is awful on it, so I didn't really want to make videos on it, and I couldn't use KineMaster on it. So I kind of was left without an editor, without good microphones, so I just stopped making videos for a bit, and I just kind of slowed it down for a bit. I started the podcast, which I'll do an episode very soon. Hopefully, whenever this comes out, it'll be this weekend. But I didn't do any album reviews, mainly because there wasn't really much to review, and I think anyone in the hip-hop community knows that January was quite a dry month, mainly because nobody knew when Drake was dropping, and then he didn't even drop, so there was no reason to delay everything. That's why the first week of February, everything started coming in. You know, we had the new Conway record last week. We also had, new Freddie Gibbs and Jid. We also had the new... And then this weekend, which I didn't do anything last weekend, I will review If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed, the Conway record, on my podcast. And I'll review the Jid singles and the Freddie Gibbs track there, too. But this weekend, we have two albums I'm going to review. I will review the Slow Tie album, Tyrone, soon. But I wanted to talk about Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack first. This isn't an album by one artist. It's by many artists. It's a soundtrack album. And overall, the main reason why I've actually been very interested by the soundtrack album is judging by the amount of hip-hop. We hear hip-hop legends on this. We hear new guys up in hip-hop on this. This album has such a great track list on it. Going through some of the guys I'm really familiar with here, we have Nas. Hit Boy does a ton of production on this. Black Thought, Jay-Z, Nipsey Hussle, BJ the Chicago Kid, G Herbo, Polo G. It's not scrolling down. What was that? Polo G. G Herbo does another track. ASAP Rocky, Rakim. There's a ton of really cool faces on this. So I was really excited for this to come out because of the faces that are on it, and I even reacted to two of the tracks already. I reacted to the Nas and the Jay-Z track. So you should go, or the Jay-Z Nipsey track. So you should go watch those reactions. They're up on my channel right now. But I wanted to react to those separately, by the way, because I've always because it's both top 5 MCs for me, and I've always by the way, yes, I do have, just pointing it out for any Nas viewers, I do own an Illmatic vinyl. I don't own a Jay-Z vinyl, because my two favorite Jay-Z projects, not the Black Album, Reasonable Doubt and 444, neither have vinyl releases recently enough. The Reasonable Doubt's hundreds of dollars, and I don't think there's an existing vinyl of 444, at least to my knowledge. There's self-made vinyls, but that's it. So I don't own a vinyl for either of those. I don't own a Jay-Z vinyl yet, probably because I don't think he has an A+ album. I think he has a ton of A's though. But nonetheless, they're two of my favorite MCs ever. I wanted to react to them. I also have been pretty vocal on this channel about my Nas interest after King's Disease came out. I did a lot of videos on that. Got a ton of views from that. So I wanted to react to those just because I knew I had a viewer base for Nas and Jay-Z. So this whole album I was just excited for. There were a ton of great tracks in here I was really excited for. I will listen, I'll watch the movie soon. I think I'm just going to free trial HBO Max and watch it there. And then I'll review it. When I get to watch Judas and the Black Messiah, I will review it in a movie review. I haven't done one in a while. I'm sorry I haven't. I will actually do a WandaVision review when that's finished because I'm watching it. It's so good. And yeah, we'll get to that. So let's go through this track list. This track list from Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack. This is the first soundtrack I've ever reviewed because there weren't a ton last year. We open with Counter Pro / December 4th. If you don't know the significance of December 4th, that is the day that the movie that soundtrack is based around. Is it Fred Hamburg? Fred Hampton? I think it's Fred Hampton. Okay, I got it right. I just looked at it again. Okay. This intro is done by Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. It's just kind of a speech going over a nice beat by D. Brooks. It's just kind of introduces the album. It's not much to talk about. We go into the first track, Fight For You by Her, which is the first Her track I've ever heard. I really liked this, so I think I'm going to listen to more of her. I thought she flowed very nicely over the R&B instrumental. I thought just the production and the whole sound was really nice. I love the trumpets that come in. I thought it was a great way to intro the album. I think it's the only single from the album, too. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid track. Then we have EPMD by Nas and Hit Boy, one of the tracks I already previewed for this. I really love this track. Upon a couple more listens, I still think it's a really solid track. Nas's rhymes and his flow are aggressive. They're on point. They're just great. Hit Boy's beat is really, really present. It's really aggressive. I really love it. I think the track is pretty much killer, no filler. It's 2.5 minutes, just bars, straight bars. I love it. I think it's a great track, and I think it's honestly one of the best these two have done together yet. I thought this was great. Then we have Welcome to America by Black Thought, C.S. Armstrong, and Angela Hunte. I haven't listened to a Black Thought album, or haven't even listened to a Roots album before. I want to. They're on my list. I haven't done it yet. I want to. But the thing is I know who Black Thought is, and I know a lot about him because of just features, and generally speaking, he's Black Thought. So I thought he did great on this. I thought, first of all, we have to talk about that instrumental by Sean C. Not the critic on YouTube, or Sean Carter. No, the producer, Sean C. He gives a great beat. He really came together with a really nice, well-constructed beat. I thought that Black Thought gave great verses about what he really talked about, what he needed to talk about. CS and Angela both just kill their parts. They both just sing very nicely over it. Their vocals are really radiant. They're really present. I especially love the CS and Armstrong hook. That's one of my favorite hooks on this project. I really love that. Next, we have What It Feels Like by Nipsey and Jay-Z, which is easily my favorite track from this project. This track is a beast. I love it so much. Nipsey murders his verse because he's Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Then Jay-Z does even better. I cannot get enough of this Jay-Z verse. It is so well put together. It's so confident. It's so smooth. It's so the Jay-Z I want to hear in 2021. I already discussed it a lot in my last video. You can go check that out. But I love that verse so much. I also want to mention, I do really love the 1,500 or nothing beat. I thought that was great. But I do want to mention one thing I noticed, and I pointed this out on Twitter, but I just want to mention it here. So there's a bar on this, which I mentioned in my reaction, where I can't remember it exactly, but I know he says something like, when Fred Hamburg was murdered, and then he stops and he says, hold up, and then you hear a gun load, and it says, assassinated, just to clarify that further. First of all, I just want to mention he doesn't finish the rhyme with murder, but he still puts further in, which is the rhyme that fits that together. I just really love that, because when you listen to it, when you hear him say murder, you know he's gonna finish it, but he doesn't finish it, and he still rhymes it. That's great lyricism, because it's Jay-Z. He does great, but it's so good. And I also want to mention, I didn't understand what he meant by he arrived on the same day. I looked it up. I didn't know that Fred Hampton was killed on December 4th of 1969. I actually just found out that that's the day Jay-Z was born. So that's quite the coincidence. I knew Jay-Z was born on December 4th. I probably should have pieced two and two together, but I just learned that when I was reading through the lyric, and I think that's interesting. I think that's a fantastic bar, just lyricism-wise, flow-wise, confidence-wise, fantastic. What It Feels Like is easily the best song on this album. I really love this track. I think it's my favorite song of the year so far. Then we have Broad Day by Hit Boy. I can't be the only person who had no idea Hit Boy rapped. I mean, I am not surprised. A lot of these producers rap as well. Some of them are great at producing and bad at rapping, like Pierre. But I thought he did great at this. I thought his flow was really nice. I felt like he really gave himself a really nice beat to work over. He really just kind of goes in with these bars. It's not the most impressive track on the album, but I quite enjoy what he did here. And I don't know, does Hit Boy do a lot? Because I only know him as a producer. Has he done like full rap tapes? If so, I want to listen to those. That sounds entertaining. Then we have Plead the 45th, which is actually my intro for Smino and Saba. I've only heard of Smino. I've never really heard of too much of him, but I've heard quite a lot about Saba. He's one of those artists I really feel like I need to listen to. I need to listen to Care For Me. That's an album I need to get to. Everybody talks about that Prom King and Queen track. But as my intro to Saba, I loved this. I feel like he had a really nice, slick flow over this really nice beat produced by Groove. I don't love the Smino performance as much. I liked it though. I thought he gave a good hook. I thought he gave a great performance. It's kind of a nice, more soft track. Overall, in terms of the whole themes and everything this album's going for, it works very nicely, and I quite enjoy this track. And hey, it's getting me into Saba, so I can't complain. Then we have the track Something Ain't Right by Magiso, Jid, and Rhapsody, one of my most anticipated tracks on the album, simply because of the last two names I just mentioned. Jid has been very vocal and very, very out there. He has yet to not drop on a Friday in February. I want him to keep that consistency. I hope. I mean, he won't, but if he dropped another feature next week, and then he dropped the album on the 27th. I mean, come on. I want to hear new Jid. He's been great so far this year with the 3 singles and this. He's killing it. Rhapsody as well. Rhapsody is one of the best female rappers to ever grace a microphone. She did so good on this too. Masejo, I really liked his hook, and I think it's a his. This is the first time I've ever heard of him. And I really love the beat. It's also produced by Wu-Ten and Cardiac, I'll mention. But I also want to mention Can't Be the Only Person that when he said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I'm the guy, I thought of the meme. You know, like I can't remember the robber. You know the meme. If you know, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. You know, I can't be the only person who thought of that meme. I love it. This is one of my favorite tracks on the album. I feel like they both did great. Jid, he's Jid. He kills it. The hook by Masejo, and Jid is really nice, and Rhapsody kills it as well. Letter to You by BJ the Chicago Kid. This is the first solo BJ the Chicago Kid track ever, but by no means is it my intro to BJ, because I have heard hip-hop albums. This guy features so commonly, it's insane. I don't know. I think he's been on I don't know. There's so many albums BJ's been on, and so I just know him already pretty well, but I really like this as a track. I thought it just was really nice, soft track. I thought his vocalizations really nice. I think I might want to listen to more solo BJ. I really like him. Then we have On Your Mind by Lil Durk. Okay track for me, but I honestly don't know I know why they picked Lil Durk. He's quite the relevant rapper right now, but really I don't think he didn't do it. I didn't really feel like he did anything for the album. It's a short track, and in general, it just feels kind of like let me discuss very basic racism over a trap beat and kind of do nothing about it. It's not terrible. It's not by any means like a bad track. I just think that, generally speaking, there are better tracks on this album. In fact, just Lil Durk in general, I think, has better tracks. I don't love Lil Durk. I like him. I think he's good, but I don't love him. I still thought this was a solid track, though. It's just more mid for this project. Appraised by White Dave, and actually this latter half of the album I'm going to go through quicker. I don't have as much as on these tracks. We have Appraised by White Dave and Hit Boy. A great track, another great Hit Boy beat, another Hit Boy beat here. Dave has really nice energy, nice flow. He goes really in, he goes really slick. All Black by G Herbo is a solid Herbo track. It's actually better than I expected, because I never have been the biggest G Herbo fan. I quite like him, but I don't think Humble Beast or PTSD really made me fall in love with him. I quite liked PTSD, I'll admit that. But Humble Beast was pretty mid for me. But I just have never been, as a solo artist, him as just a general artist, I don't think his style or flow really does anything new. But I quite like him here, though. I still thought he did really nicely. I felt like he was really aggressive. One of the things that really makes this track for me, though, is the Turbo beat. Turbo did so good with that beat. It's really intense. I really love the pianos on it. I thought it sounded great. We then have I Declare War by Nardo Wick, which if I had to remove one track from this album, I'd probably remove this. It's probably my least favorite. It's not because it's bad. I just feel like it's the least effortful track. We have a hook that just feels really poorly written to me. There's a lot of points on this where the rhyming and the wording and the way he's trying to get across his point is just the most uninteresting he could do it. And it's not like there's a ton of leeway to work in like what you, because this every track on this album is about racism in America, every single one. So it makes sense why he couldn't really come up with new themes, but it just feels really just lamely written, and flow wise I don't love it. I like the beat, I think it's a solid beat, but just overall as a track I didn't love this. I've never heard of Nardo Wick before this, by the way. No Profanity by Pooh Shiesty is great. I really love this track. I thought the Skywalker OG beat was really good. He gave really good energy. I thought just the general flow and sound of this track was one of the more darker tracks. I quite liked it. Last Man Standing, the Polo G track. This was really a great track for me to hear. I really liked this. I thought it was a lot better than the GNF, I think it was what it was called, the track he did last week that I was not a fan of. I really liked this. I thought DJ AO just did great with that beat. Polo flows over this very nicely the way he does. I think Polo really has proved here, though, one thing. I feel like he's great at taking real issues in America and just generally the world and really, really getting to the core of them and really, really getting emotion out of you as a listener. This is probably one of the more emotional tracks from this track list, and he did this as well with Wishing for a Hero on his The GOAT project, and he did it on more tracks on that, like 21 and I think it was D&D. Like he's really good at just taking these issues and really just getting the emotion out of it, like really getting the emotion out of it. He's really good at that, and I've really enjoyed this as a track. I think it's the most emotional track on this project, and I really quite liked it. I thought it was just one of the better ones for this track list. Respect My Mind by Dom Kennedy. I've heard a lot about Dom. This is my first impression of him, though. I really liked this. The Mike and Keys beat is really solid. Dom Kennedy does a great style, does great flow. I don't have much to say on this. I really liked it. Revolutionary by G Herbo, Hit Boy, and Bump J is good. I quite like the the Hit Boy beat. More Hit Boy production here. G Herbo is another gives more great flows on this. I thought it was really had great production. Bump G did really great on his part as well. Overall, I thought this was a solid track. It's not my most revisitable, but I still quite liked it. Teach Me by Sir, I really liked. I correct me if I'm wrong. I think Sir is he's a Top Dog guy, right? I think he is. I think he is. I can't remember, but I think he is. I really liked this though. I thought it was a really nice R&B cut. I really liked the DK the instrumental by DK the Punisher was really nice. Sir sang very nicely over this. I thought he was really solid. It's not the most visible from this track, from this track list, but I quite enjoyed it. I really like Contagious though by Safe and Kiana Lead. My favorite R&B cut from this project. I thought Safe was just beautiful with over this trackside beat. He just sounds very nicely. Kiana also comes in and she sounds great too. They really just they probably bring the most soft and emotional track here, and I really love it as a track. I think it's just really solid overall, and I think overall it was just a great track. Then we have the one of the more anticipated tracks from this. We have Rich N. I can't say that word. Rich N Problems by ASAP Rocky. Rocky's finally back. We haven't heard a solo track from Rocky in quite some time, and this made me very excited for All Smiles. ASAP killed this, man. I love the D.Omen beat. I thought Rocky just progressed over it very nicely, flowed over very nicely. I feel like he really got to the heart of the issue he was really going for. I thought it was a great track. I just love A$AP Rocky as a rapper, and I just want to hear new album from him. It's not like we've been waiting forever. I mean, Testing came out in 2018, but I really want to hear more great, because Testing was my favorite. So I really want to hear another great project from him. Finally, actually not finally, kind of, I don't know why. We have Outro, which is it's a nice, cool Hit Boy 1 minute track. I don't know much to say on this. I don't know why it exists. It's just kind of a little outro. Hit Boy delivers a nice little outro. I don't know much to say on this. But then we have one of my more anticipated tracks on this album, which is Black Messiah by Rakim. I was so excited for this because of what this is. This is Rakim in 2021. I don't know where this is coming from. I'm not sure the last time Rakim did anything. But if you're a rap fan, you gotta know Rakim. 1987, Paid in Full, Eric B, come on. But as a whole, I was excited for this track. Too bad it was somewhat of a letdown for me. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't dislike it. I still enjoyed it. I thought Rakim really flowed over nicely. I thought the beat was really solid. It's just, I don't know why it's mixed like garbage. It's so hard to hear what Rakim's saying, and that's confusing as a listener because it's Rakim. It's one of the most recognizable faces in hip hop. And for some reason, the mixing kind of sucks. I don't know why. It was very hard to understand what he's trying to talk about here. And overall, I do have a prediction. Maybe this is a verse that just came, like, this beat and verse just came off the shelf from, like, 20 years ago. But it's still just, it feels like a little bit of a letdown. I feel like Rakim could have done really nicely over this. And the mixing just and everything about this overall, it was just kind of a mess for me. I still liked it. I still thought it was a solid track. But it wasn't nearly as good as the Nas, the Jay-Z, or the Polo G, or the A$AP Rocky. All those were better cuts. Overall, though, I quite enjoyed Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack. I thought this was a really solid project. I feel like it did what, and first of all, we have to talk about this. The guys who organized this, I love you. You got so many great faces. You got great production from guys like Hit Boy. You got great rappers like Nas, Jay-Z, Nipsey Hussle, A$AP Rocky, Rakim. You name it. There were so many great faces on this project. And on top of that, I feel like when we're talking about each individual rapper, they all did their best to contribute their own part to this. It feels very coincidental. It feels like all the beats really fit together. I really just like this as a project. I think I'm going to go replay this quite a lot. Especially the EPMD and What It Feels Like. Both those tracks I'm going to play quite a lot. I really like this. I feel like this is really well put together. Really great soundtrack project. Overall, I'll scoot over. How would I rate this? I rate this A-. I really like this. This is my first review of the year. Currently, right now, If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed is my album of the year. But not anymore. This is my album of the year. We'll see how Slow Tie performs. But really like this as a project. I feel like this was really well put together. Great collaborative effort from everyone here. I really loved Judas and the Black Messiah soundtrack. What do you guys think on it? What do you guys think on this new soundtrack? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. I think, if nothing else comes out next week, I'll review the new Trippie Redd. Because Pegasus, I hated Pegasus. Awful album. But Pegasus versus Neon Shark sounds like the most epic thing I've ever heard. So I think I'll just review it for the sake that I'm reviewing Pegasus and versus Neon Shark. See you guys next time. I don't have anything else to say for this video. Bye.